Today I'll be showing you how to use the watermelon rind to make a salad that's delicious and super versatile. Usually when you finish eating watermelon, the first instance is just to grind up the watermelon rind or simply throw it away. But what I've learned that it actually makes for an amazing substitute for vegetables like cucumbers and other things. It doesn't have much flavor, it has a nice crunch to it, and it's absolutely delicious. And it's a sustainable way to kind of eat a greater part of the fruit than we usually do. So I'm gonna show you 2 recipes you can use to make a salad out of watermelon rind. So the first thing you do, pretty intuitional, is just to take out the white part of the rind. You do not want to eat the green part because that's simply too hard to digest. But there are recipes in which you can use the green part as well. That would most likely involve either boiling it, blanching it, or sauteing it. But for the purpose of this salad, I'm not going to be using that. So I'm going to do is, I'm using a small slice of watermelon because right now people who are living with me are not eating a lot of watermelon, and for me, I really don't need it that much. It's okay if you leave a little bit of the red part on it, or just give it a little bit of sweet taste. And it's okay if you leave some of the fruit in there. Okay. You just put these watermelon away. Nice. So you see, I've just removed it as close to the skin as you can get. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. There's not really a right way to remove the green part. Personally, what I do is I just cut it into smaller pieces and use a knife to sort of peel it, but I'm not terribly good at it. But you know, just have to do whatever you have to do to get it done. I know I'm using a knife in a really not safe way. Just don't do that yourself if you are not super familiar with the use of knife. I'm gonna cut like a quarter, kind of like a quarter of an inch away from the actual green skin, because the part really right next to the skin is gonna be too tough as well. So you can probably remove more than that, but since I'm not that good at using a knife, I couldn't get as close. There's certain watermelon that just have way too thin of a skin that you can't really do much with it. That kind, but usually is like more, skin will be more crunchy and soft, so probably you can just eat the green skin as well. I got this recipe from my grandma, who's more than 80-year-old now. My mom does this occasionally too, but she's always too lazy to do it. She's also not a terribly good chef. My dad just wouldn't bother. But I like to experiment with food. I mean, and it tastes good. If you have a tough stomach, or like to chew on hard stuff, by all means you can keep the green stuff. But for you to do that, I would recommend first sauteing, not really sauteing, I guess marinating the whole watermelon sliced up in kosher salt first for like half an hour or so, so it softens it and removes some of the liquid and makes the whole thing more chewable. You can do that with this as well, but I personally don't find it super necessary. But if you like to do that, you can do that as well. It will be chewier, but not as crunchy. I mean, less chewy, but not as crunchy. Obviously, it'll be a lot more worthwhile if you have a whole entire watermelon, but I only have this quarter. Anyway, how do people make sure that pre-sliced watermelon doesn't get bruised when it's transporting? This watermelon is so fragile. I don't know how they make sure it doesn't get bruised. Very interesting. The same question as I have for those like pre-shelled, what are they called? Pistachios. How the hell do they take out pistachio shells? Like, because like every pistachio has different shapes and sizes. How the hell does the machine open them without bruising it inside? Maybe they do bruise it inside, but how on earth do they take it out? So one time I went to Acme, I think I just went to get like cheese or something, and there was this old lady behind me in line who I was about to buy a bag of pre-shelled pistachio from the regular brand, like the green one they can find everywhere. I'm just slicing them like thinly, forgot a word for it. What is it? Julienne? Yes, and I was physically stopped by the lady. She's like, no, you're not buying that. And she gave me this terrifying look, as if I'm doing something that would send me straight to hell. That she says, you don't know who shells them. You don't know. I was like, I was assuming it was a machine, right? I still think it's a machine. But she gave me this look as if she knows some sort of industrial secret that should impede everyone from buying it from now on. It's a very interesting experience. Anyways, I didn't really understand why it happened. It was one of the experiences that make you feel like you live in a fever dream. But anyways, I decided not to buy it, not really because I really think there's anything fishy going on with that. I was just purely like petrified by her actions, and I thought she would probably follow me home from the garage and murder me if I do buy a pistachio. But by the way, the seasoning I'm gonna do for them, one of them is gonna be sort of my grandma's recipe. The other one will be like sort of like the seasoning of Korean kimchi. It's a seasoning I've discovered when I started eating cabbage with my friend in the middle of the night because we wanted to eat something savory but didn't want crazy calorie. Probably still very not healthy, but I apologize for cutting this in such an annoying way because I really do not really know how to use a knife. Even though I consistently cook, I just do not know how to use a knife. And I blame my parents for it, because every time I try to cut, they're like, you're doing it the wrong way. They don't really show me how to do it correctly. So I just keep trying different ways of cutting it, and none of them really works. You know what, it cuts. It's cutting. It's quite unhuman, but knife isn't perfect. I've been thinking about like the whole thing with like plants having feelings. I know this conversation is getting a little bit deep for a salad recipe, but like, okay, I just saw this comment about fruitarian when I watched the movie Notting Hill, something like that, with my friend, and they were like, we only eat fruits that's naturally fallen onto the ground because plants might have feelings too, and they don't want to murder them, sorts of stuff like that. It was probably a joke. It was a joke, but how do you know that they stop having feelings if they ever do? That when they become a fruit that's fallen to the ground, they would stop having feelings. Like, to what stage do they stop having feelings? Like, how do we ever know about that? It seems like a big mess. And is that the same for every plant, every vegetable, every crop? Like, it just seems like there's no way to know. I don't know. I truly do not have an answer to any of that. And I don't know why I even brought it up. But I would hope that these watermelon rinds don't have feelings because I'm cutting them in a very inefficient way. Don't worry about it if the shapes are irregular because they are gonna be, and when it exits your body from the different end, it will all look the same, hopefully. That is if you have a functioning digestive system. Which I'm not suggesting that you don't. You probably do. But if you don't, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. And it's not meant to be an offensive joke. For the matter, it's not even a joke.
Everything's a circle, we all are gonna die.
So I'm just gonna sprinkle both of the flavors. I think I'm gonna do this for the spicy version, this for the vanilla. Plain version. So I'm just gonna generously sprinkle some kosher salt on both of them. When I say generously, I mean I'm Asian. Asians don't cook with recipes. Just check with your Asian parents if you do have them. They do not follow recipes, I guarantee you. But it's around 1 teaspoon to 1.5, I would say. You just want to toss them around a little bit. If your hands are clean, toss them around. If your hands are not clean, make sure your general physician is not on a COVID break. I'm surprised by how salmoneras are still around after so many years. They still haven't found out a way to get rid of them? Like, that's quite surprising to me, at least. You should probably let them sit in salt for like a little bit if you want them to be more like less chewy, but I'm just gonna go ahead and start because I'm impatient, like all teenagers are. So for the recipe that's not spicy from my grandmother and my mother, for that matter, I'm gonna start with adding about 2 teaspoons of I guess like soy sauce of your choice. Yikes, that is way too much. Use measurements if you are not a confident Asian cook like me. And following that, the same amount for rice vinegar. You can also use vinegar of your choice. Anything but balsamic vinegar will really work. I recommend white wine or red wine vinegar. I am using rice vinegar, which is quite perfect too. And on top of that, I'm just gonna do 1.5 teaspoon of sugar to bring out all the opposite flavors of the soy sauce and vinegar. And at this point, if you are like me, add a shitload of pepper, but this is completely up to you. I will be eating this, so I will be adding about 1 tablespoon of pepper. But completely optional. Completely optional. I sound so annoying. I'm gonna title this video Annoying Teenager Making Food. At least I'm self-aware. Okay. So after the base seasoning, if you do not mind some oil in your food, I'm gonna do about a squirt. I said a squirt of sesame oil. It can be translated to about like 2 teaspoons, I guess. And I guess that's it for this recipe. It can probably last a good week if you keep it in the fridge, and the longer it soaks, the better it tastes. It's mostly like just cucumber, but tougher. Now, moving on to the Korean spicy version. I'm gonna do similarly. This is after it's been salted, by the way. Also, 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar. Mix it up. This time, a generous amount of garlic powder. Garlic. For it to taste it tastes like kind of like a kimchi situation. If you would like, you can also get scallion powder or like minced garlic. Any form of garlic would really work. Minced, freshly chopped, garlic that you caught in the wild, garlic swimming in a sea. Oh my god, I can't talk today. Any form of garlic you can fetch. I do not judge. And on top of that, similarly, 1.5 teaspoon of sugar. Yum yum. It already smells delicious. Just mix it up. And what's different about this one is I'm gonna use a chili paste. This is a Chinese one I'm using. Feel free to use any kind of chili paste you like. Mexican ones, Korean ones, average ones. You can use sriracha if you would like. Don't use Tabasco. Just use like a paste or sriracha. But this I only used about 2 to 3 teaspoons because it's quite potent. It's really, really spicy. This would kind of taste like a TikTok recipe of that person like using a whole jar of peeled garlic and adding like chili powder and all that to it. Same kind of concept. So here we go. The 2 recipes are done. One is more spicy. One is more mild, but savory and delicious. Both of them are bussing, and I hope you enjoyed the video. You probably won't, but that's okay. Bye.